Super T Sigma, Journey into the Qliphoth. This is part 5. So we just covered Thagarian, where Belphegor rules, and now we're over in Arab Zarak, where Baal rules, Baal, or the counterpart to him would be Odin. But this is them in their war form. So this is like the Transformers when they put their war mask on, when it's time to do battle. They're not the regular monster trucks and Camaros that you usually see. You know what I mean? This is battle time. This is after the transformation. And Arab Zarak is an interesting sphere because it's almost like you're going in reverse. It's like a replay cam showing you the metaphysics, the inner metaphysics of what actually happened in Thagarian. So when I was in Thagarian, in that sphere, trying to, I was looking at both testaments of myself, both Old and New Testaments of myself, looking at the A and B side to myself. Arab Zarak is the sphere that helps you see what that was. What did your soul do in the Thagarian process? So what my soul did in Arab Zarak and what the soul does in Arab Zarak is it muses. This is the realm of music and poetry. This is where you get your Edgar Allan Poe type of energy from. This is a place in this an area like that. Also connects to Genesis, Noah's story of the flood, where he sends a dove and a raven out. This sphere is called the ravens of dispersion. That's what Arab Zarak is. So it's when something disperses. Raven is another name for the genus of bird known as crow. They fit under the same species and genus, to the point where they can even be considered the same bird sometimes, where they say the raven and the crow are so similar that they can even be the same, according to how some people look at the term raven and crow. What's interesting about that, though, unlike any other group of birds, those birds are not called a flock. Ravens, aka crows, a group of those particular birds is not called a flock. It's called a murder of crows. Yeah, murder. M-U-R-D-E-R. Yeah, murder. That's the name of this group of birds. When you have a group of crows, they're called a murder. So you got that murder, you have the death. And what is it? The dispersion is showing that you died to the old way. And what is being dispersed? Why not one raven? Like Noah's flood, where he sent one raven out to survey the land. This is the ravens. Because this is different parts of your psyche being pushed away from the right-hand path and pushed away from the social construct, a lot of control on the main level, like the ground level, the lobby, where they want to assign a God to you, assign a belief system to you, assign a walk of life and a code of spiritual conduct for you. And you'll find on a lot of levels of research that all of this is just another system of control. So Arab Zarak is the circle that pushes you even further away from that reality, because now you know who you are. Thagarian showed you your full self. And so now what happened in that discovering of your full self is that all the dark aspects of you, all of the hidden talents, all of the skills and gifts that you didn't even know you had. Like, man, I never thought that I was a brave person, but I was backed into a corner, so I had to do what I had to do. It's like, man, you a beast. Arab Zarak is something that brings out that other powerful side of you. And this is really triggered with the fight or flight response, should you choose to fight rather than flee. You're going to have this dispersion thing, but the dispersion is a fleeing already. That's like class dismissed. Now you're ready to really take the journey as your new self, your Thagirian self, your shadow side. Now you have characterized yourself with the internal character. You're no longer wearing the egoic mask that the surface self presents to the world. Now you have put on the full suit of the inner character, the internal character. You might not have been all teethy as a on the inside. On the inside, you might have had that little devilish grin about you, and you always wanted to suppress it because you didn't want to look sketchy. But after Thagirian and once the Arab Zarak process is completed, you like, man, I don't give a F. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be the me that I'm usually embarrassed to. I'm going to be the full me. I don't care if I look boring because I'm reading all the time. I don't care if I look bored because I'm trying to study all the time. That's the side of us we don't show. We study behind closed doors. We want to show them the charisma in person. But you also, in this alchemy, this mental alchemy that takes place, that's a side, that internal side is the side that you're going to learn to lead with for the purpose of getting to know that side better. So this is Arab Zarak. They call it the realm of the romanticists. Like they tie it into romance. And what do we mean when we say romance? Not your typical love story, really, like that. Not this is not dealing with eros. This is not romance in that sense. This is the romance that deals with the longing for, the absence of. This is that, oh, I'm without my baby. I gotta get my baby back. This is like that kind of energy. I gotta get my baby back. And I'm willing to do a Dante's Inferno and go all the way down to the ninth circle to go get my Beatrice. Arab Zarak pushes you into that energy of chasing your true destiny. Now you are beginning to understand that with this dark illuminated self, that there was no middleman the whole time, that the Most High is not this bully that a lot of religions make him out to be. The Most High is beyond understanding in terms of the scope of what we would call morality. This is why angels and demons and all of this kind of stuff, they basically can do whatever they got to do. They got the green light. Everybody has the green light. This is when they talk about the war in heaven, they don't say nothing about God stepping in. This was basically Archangel Michael versus the dragon and his angels, based on the scriptures. And am I right? God didn't even step in. So the idea of the Most High and the Most High, I'm not talking about Jehovah. I'm talking about a God that's much higher than Jehovah, is not going to push anybody into a corner. That high level of God, the highest level of God there is what we call the all, or some more popularly, or I should say, of more renown, the term would be source. Because the all is even more difficult to understand than the term source. Because with the source, you have that whole returning thing, the origin, the originator, the source, right? Going back to the Genesis point. So the Most High is like the eternal beginning, source. But to say that God is the all, that's not just including source. That's the all, that's the source, that's the alpha, the omega, that's everything in between. That's beta, gamma, phi, all of that. That's everything. So in considering everything, you really don't have room for judging, but you have all the room for judgment. And Arab Zarak was the sphere that helped me deal with my musings. This is why to this day, I still rap. I don't care whether or not it gets traction or not. That's just something I have to do. That's the Arab Zarak side of me that has to let out that dark illumination, because my ravens are dispersing. That are the different parts of my psyche. They're going out into all of these outer layers of the astral realm where Arab Zarak takes place. And these ravens of dispersion, they actually collect information, because the raven in Noah's story actually went back to the boat. I believe, with like a something in his mouth, a beak or a branch. If I'm not mistaken, it could have been the dove that came back with that. But either way, these ravens, the purpose of them and the purpose of their dispersion is to go out and to collect. So you're really entering into like a realm of like pre-telepathy. You're beginning to understand, or clairvoyance or clairaudience or anything that is clair, CLAIR, pushing you out. Like now you're sending out energetic scouts. Now you're sending out your own archetypes, your own God forms, thought forms, your own spirit guides. You're sending your own forces out now. Now you are becoming a demiurge. This is the seedling of you becoming your own demiurge, becoming your own Ubermesh, becoming your own oversoul. So these ravens are dispersing, and it's connected to battle. The battle is in the music. Even when you go into the origins, the biblical origins of Lucifer, they talk about Lucifer being a seraphim that is both over instrumentation and made out of instruments. So this whole idea of rebellion and music and breaking free from bonds and dark poetry, really expressing the raw feelings, even if they're ambiguous or obscure or very morbid, you still got to get all of that out. You got to get all of that up off of you. I'm not saying that you have to go against whatever, is right for you and your soul. You do what you got to do. But whatever that part is that's in you, if it's a part of you that never stood up for yourself before, that part, you're going to have to start leading with that now. Or if there was a part of you that was just had to dial it back because you're a person who on the surface is just flies off the handle, and you had to learn how to be calm and chill and be very deliberate and thoughtful with your actions, then if that's the internal side of you, then you're gonna have to bring that out and lead with that. So you're wearing a black suit. You're becoming the men in black, not the men in white. When you're wearing white, that's how you want everybody else to see you, as pure. It's just a human reflex to want to be seen in the best light by all witnesses. Arab Zarak goes against that notion. And it says, we don't care about status quo. We care about neither the quo or the status. We are here to solidify our own sense of soul level sovereignty. And it starts with this rebellion in the musings of the mind, because the root word of music is muse. And what muse means is to simply think, to deliberate, to ponder, to reflect. This is what it means to muse. And so in these musings, this is what was going on in Thagirian when you're basically being read your rights, but not as a person who has the right to remain silent. This is more like, no, you have the right to speak up. You have the right to stand up for yourself. You have the right to make your mark. You have the right to be who you are. You have the right, unapologetically, you have the right. And Arab Zarak brings you there, and it shows you that in Thagirian, what was going on was you were cracking a shell. And it says, in order to be born again for real, on this level, that egg has to be crushed into dust. There's an eggshell. You broke out of the egg, but breaking out of the egg is not enough. You have to crush the egg into dust, because sometimes the shells of your past can follow you, right? That's why the egg has yolk. The yolk is strong enough to pull the discarded shell along. You ever made an omelet before? Yeah, so the yolk is pretty thick. So that shell that you break out of, you got to crush that. You have to crush and crumble that into dust, which is really just saying, like, anytime you have a flashback of how you used to be, of the subjugation that you were under, don't resist that rebellious urge, that rebellious prompting to say, I'm not going back. I'm too far in it now. There's no turning back now. That's the no turning back chorus and refrain that plays in your mind whenever you get stuck between verses in the song of your life. You got to go back to the chorus, and the chorus is changing. The chorus on the right-hand path might have been, yes, sir, no, sir, right away, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, right away, ma'am, anything you want, anything you need, whatever, how can I help, what can I do, what, use me. Now that you've been honest with yourself and not a slave to somebody else's idea and pre-selected role for you, now you can change the chorus of your song to say, I want, and I'm not going to rely on whether or not anybody's going to give me it. I'm going to take it. Yeah, that's Arab Zarak. So that was like gaining some muscle. Like now that you get the backbone from the other spheres, now you got strength. You're flying now. Now you're really leaving the old world all the way behind. And now you're entering into that black sun. What is that black sun? Like we said, the internal soul, full of dark illumination, full of mystery, full of intrigue. What you're doing by flying into that sun metaphorically as the raven of dispersion, under the war energy of Baal, what you're doing is saying, I'm gonna live my life from within myself. Yeah, that's what's happening. And you see how all of this mental alchemy is absolutely necessary in order to bring you to that point. Because naturally, you're just going to act and live and think and do whatever you got to do based on what's around you. You're taking notes of your environment and you're responding accordingly, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But don't leave out the other half of the dollar. You better take that dollar bill together and use that full monetary denomination. See, the other side is when you're no longer going to be pushed over by even a school of thought. You're deciding that black sun that represents my soul, I'm going to fly into that now instead of trying to reach for the other sun that they call Helios. Instead of trying to reach for some kind of son of man or some kind of other kind of historical figure. This is kind of like, if you're a Christian, this is the part where Jesus says, oh, no, don't come to me. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Disciples, why do you come to me? Why do you call me good? Only God is good. There was countless times in the scriptures. Well, maybe not countless, but more than enough times where Jesus said, y'all need to stop doing all this man worship. That's basically what he was saying. Y'all need to stop doing all of this man worship. Arab Zarak erases all your mentors, erases them, erases all your role models, erases them. It erases all of your teachers, your guides. It doesn't eliminate them to say that they don't matter anymore, but this is you coming into your own. From the self-styled student to the birthing and burgeoning master teacher, Super T Sigma. I holla.